Hello and welcome into the Sporting Jacks Report along with Mauricio Ruiz. I'm Cole Pepper, and coming up here we have a lot to get into, including a closer look at the USL Super League as the Women's League gets set to kick off this summer. We have a lot of news to pass along, plus we'll hear more from the U.S. Women's National Team now under new management. But let's start with a historic match set for later this summer. The Stateside Cup brings two Premier League clubs to town as West Ham faces Wolverhampton July the 27th at Everbank Stadium. Mauricio, this is a great opportunity for soccer fans here in Jacksonville to really get a look at two of England's top clubs.
Yeah, really. Usually for you to get a game like that, you have to go overseas or you have to travel. So our North Florida fans get to see the game at its highest possible level. And remember, these are players that will be representing their countries in the World Cup. You have Lucas Paquetá from Brazil, Edson Alvarez from Mexico. Remember, West Ham is where Declan Rice came from, right? So really high-level game. And when you see that in person versus seeing it on TV, completely different appreciation for the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I had the pleasure of speaking with two former Wolves players who made a trip to Jacksonville back in 1981 to play a friendly against the Jacksonville T-Men. John Richards and Colin Brazier both recalled the trip as a nice getaway, and for Brazier it was the start of something. He played 2 seasons for the T-Men after that.
For everybody at Wolves going to America, it was just so exciting at the time, you know what I mean? And when we're there, I think just getting used to the heat and everything was buzzing all the while, like, you know what I mean? It was a fantastic adventure.
Really, from our point of view, it was just a sort of, we'd had a tough season. We hadn't had a particularly good season. And it was just really a relaxing few days away in somewhere we'd never been before. And as Colin says, it was exciting.
Tickets are available now for the July 27th Stateside Cup. You see the information there. Chance to see some Premier League soccer here in Jacksonville. More news this week from the USL Super League. We now know that when the league kicks off in the inaugural season in August, it will be a 28-game season with a mid-season break over the holidays. The playoffs will include the top 4 teams in a single elimination bracket. Mauricio, your thoughts on the structure here for the first season of USL Super League?
Yeah, I love the structure because there's going to be a break in the winter break. So it really talks about player care. It's a new league. It's a lot of travel. You have 8 teams, so a lot of games out of region. So the player care is really important. Make sure that the players understand how to get healthy, how to recover. So you get about a month break or so. And then the playoffs, 4 teams out of 8 kind of make it through. So can you get into that half-table line? So I like the setup. The breakup is good for the first year, and you can build upon that.
I think it's be very intriguing to see the impact that winter break has. Of course, it's going to jive up with the rest of the world, most of the rest of the world on that FIFA calendar with that break over the holidays. It's time now for the Island Wing Company Game of the Week, and this week it's Orange County against Detroit City. And what a matchup this was, Mauricio, between a couple of teams that have had their moments this year already, but this was a good one.
Well, Orange County is one of the better teams out west. They kind of just always tinker within the top of the league, but not really breaking it through. But a really good team and a really good start from Detroit City, the away team here. Yeah,
off a free kick, James Murphy in, and Stephen Carroll with the header to make it a 1-0 Detroit City lead.
Yeah, that out swinger from James Murphy, Cole, limits the goalkeeper from being able to come out and claim it. And big body center back, Steve Carroll goes up. You can see here, just kind of pushes off the defender a little bit, and really no goalkeeper could have saved that.
40th minute now, Orange County gets one. Thomas Among, such a strong player, battling for it here, and his 5th goal of the season makes it a 1-1 game.
Yeah, and that's an understatement. You see him walking away. That's a strong boy, and he pushes off, once again, pushes off the defender. Really just a direct ball over the top. He gets his position on it. Bit of a lucky bounce, gets a little deflection, and unlucky for the goalkeeper there.
All right, second half now, and we'll see Orange County on the move again. And really nice build-up here, and beautiful little cutback. The dummy allows it to through, and there's the goal. Kyle Scott puts it away to give Orange County the 2-1 lead.
Yeah, as a former defensive midfielder, you don't get on top of the box too often for shots, and he just saw it coming from a long distance away. Kyle Scott, you see here, he's like number 8, number 6 for them, and a lovely little dummy. I'm sure he's yelling for it, and if he puts it away really nicely.
65th minute now. Is this a foul in the box or out of the box? The official says it's a penalty.
Yeah, Ruiz Williams does a really good job to sell that one, and whether it was in and out, he gets a PK.
And makes it a 2-2 game. 78th minute now. Among on the move again for Orange County. Sends it over to Bryce Jamison, who puts it in the back of the net. 3-2 Orange County, and that's how it would end. Detroit City now winless in 5 straight. OC snaps a 3-match losing streak in style.
Yeah, and at home, among really, for me, the player of the game, you saw him on the first goal, pushing away the defender. Lovely little dribble in here, nice and patient, and he just sets it up. And Jamison just came off the bench, probably his second, third touch on the ball, and just puts it away from the keeper.
All right, let's take a look at some of the scores from around the USL this week. Of course, you see Detroit City with 2 road games, losing them both as part of that long losing streak now that's starting to build. But I also will point out that when you see teams going away and winning, you certainly have to take note of that, including Birmingham, a very impressive victory on the road.
Yeah, and Birmingham is on the climb. We've talked about some other teams that are kind of getting hot. Birmingham, a really veteran team on the climb here against El Paso on the road is difficult. El Paso's having a tough season, but I want to point out Indy 11, and we're going to see here on the table in a bit, playing against Battery and winning that game. A bit of a battle at the top, really good result for Indy.
All right, let's take a look at the standings, starting with the Western Conference, and New Mexico United on top. Sacramento Republic just a point behind. And again, we'll keep an eye on the games played column there, because you've got Monterey Bay has already played 14 matches. Nobody else has played that many in the West.
Yeah, and you see Orange County, we just highlighted them in our game of the week, starting to climb up a little bit too. New Mexico, even though they lost to Monterey Bay climbed a little bit, but New Mexico stayed, and they only have 11 games played.
All right, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings now. Louisville City on top, Charleston Battery. And as you mentioned, Indy 11 is really the team on the move right now. They've won 5 straight.
5 straight. They're rocking. Louisville, 5 unbeaten as well. Battery, a bit of a draw and a loss, unlike them, to kind of go back to back on 2, dropping points on 2. But the Rowdies just stay right there. They had a good road win against Sacramento as well. Indy 11 and Tampa Bay Rowdies just starting to kind of climb up.
And you see the bottom of the table has been a rough go for Miami FC so far this year. For more on Sporting Jacks and the USL, we invite you to subscribe to the Sporting Pod. Our weekly podcast takes you behind the scenes of what we're doing to build up to kickoff. Mauricio and I are joined by Tony Allegretti to discuss the hot topics in the soccer world and give the latest updates on Sporting Jacks. You can find the Sporting Pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And this week we discussed the U.S. Open Cup draw that includes 3 remaining USL Championship teams. Mauricio, your thoughts on how the USL positions itself right now for the final push in the U.S. Open Cup?
Yeah, I mean, you have 3 teams that still representing to try to get into the semifinal. I mean, that's really big for them. I mean, the Cup game against MLS teams that you see here on the graphic. I just love that Sacramento. They're going to be hosting Seattle Sounders. Sounders, they do put a lot of emphasis into U.S. Open Cup. You have some new teams like LAFC. They really have. They're kind of new into the U.S. Open Cup, environment. But I think Sac Republic, they're having a bit of a down in league play. I wonder if that has to do with how they're managing their roster.
Yeah, as you can see, they're the remaining teams in the quarterfinals. So we'll see how it all plays out. They won't get back on the field playing until July for the quarterfinals. And we invite you to join us for our Summer of Soccer watch parties. Next up, it's the Copa America. We'll be at Grace Note Brewing under the Roosevelt Bridge between Avondale and Ortega. The matches involving the United States men's national team. We'll have prizes to give away and a chance for you to ask questions about Sporting Jacks. And if you're a season ticket depositor, beers are buy one, get one free. It's free to attend, but please RSVP by going to sportingjacks.com. When we come back, a closer look at the debut for Emma Hayes as the head coach of the U.S. women's national team. Becky Burleigh joins us to discuss. And we invite you to become a member of Sporting Jacks. Membership is absolutely free. Just go to sportingjacks.com to sign up. You'll get merchandise discounts, VIP event invitations, and chances to win prizes and experiences. Plus, you can also put down your season ticket deposit. Just go to sportingjacks.com to become a member. More to come on the Sporting Jacks Report right after this. All USL Championship games are streamed on ESPN Plus or CBS's Golazo Network, and the next national broadcast comes on CBS Sports Network tonight. It's the battle for Texas. San Antonio FC hosting El Paso Locomotive. That's tonight, 9 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. All right, let's welcome in Becky Burleigh, who's joining us as she jet sets across America this summer. Becky, let's first start with some conversation about the U.S. women's national team, their first match. With Emma Hayes in charge, a 4-0 win over Korea. What was your big takeaway from that first match with Hayes in charge?
Well, I had a few, but my biggest one is, man, this is going to be fun. We saw some new faces. We saw some different things. Here's the 2 things I really noticed was the fluidity and the interchange and the options we have in the attack. And those were on full display in this game. And I think the second thing is the emphasis on set pieces. And we all know how important that is as the games get tighter. And to have a new weapon back there with Tiana Davidson.
Well, it's a good segue to Tiana Davidson. She hasn't scored for the U.S. in 6 years, so she kind of comes back, gets a score. What do you expect from her, kind of how Emma's going to use her going forward?
You know, I loved watching her play when she played at Stanford. I mean, she's just a really, really unique player who has a great IQ, great athleticism, plays the game in a way that you just love to watch. So I think she's going to play bigger and bigger into it. It's so good to see her back from that injury.
One of the big questions I had going in was who would be the player who immediately would put on a major performance under a new coach. Didn't take long. Mallory Swanson was tremendous, couple of goals and an assist. Did you find that to be an expected star right out of the gate?
You know, Mal Swanson was on such a trajectory to go high. As soon as she got injured, it was like such a downer for everyone because I think everyone realized what an important player she was. So I don't think it's necessarily that we didn't see this coming, but I think, you know, Emma has stated how much she's going to be involved in the attacking play. And so for that, I think it's really important for Mal to get off to a good start, which she certainly did.
And we talk about a lot about the up and coming, the new stars, but Alex Morgan did not get to play. A bit of a tightness in the pelvic area. Is that Coach Hayes just holding her off and not risking any potential further injury for the Olympics?
You know what I loved about that was that she clarified it right from the beginning. So there wasn't all this speculation. Why didn't Alex Morgan play? You know, it was like, hey, we want a fresh Alex Morgan tonight for the next game. And so I think that was really great for her to have that kind of communication with the media and with just in general, probably with Alex too, because I think sometimes when it gets this close to making those rosters, players have all sorts of questions in their mind, and great communication can solve a lot of that.
You mentioned the set pieces and corner kicks a little bit earlier. The corners, it was a clinic put on by the United States. Now again, Korea, not necessarily a top 10 opponent, but what did you see in particular out of the way that they were designing those corner kicks, and how much of a weapon is that going to be for the United States going forward?
Well, you know, the crazy thing is that the U.S. now has multiple weapons on set pieces. You know, Tiana Davidson entering that is just another added weapon. But I think the service, the quality of the service is always the key. And, you know, both of those kind of came from like a back post space, and man, that's hard to defend. So if they can be dangerous with the near post, which they were with Julie Ertz and Haran and some of these other people, and with the back post service, that's tough. That's tough to defend for anybody.
So Becky, we saw the USL Super League schedule come out last week. You know, 14 games, home and away, 28 in total. What do you think about the balance of the schedule and really the format with a 14 playoff?
You know, I agree with you, Mauricio. The ability to build on that as more teams add in the coming years, I think is great. I think 4 is the right number for right now. And I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see because, you know, if you can get to the halfway point in that table, you're going to be in good shape. And that's not going to be easy to do in this first year, but it's going to be exciting to watch, that's for sure.
We are looking forward to seeing things kicking off in August as the First Division USL Super League has its debut season. Becky, thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds great.
We also want to let you know about an event happening on June the 9th at Lynch's Irish Pub in Jacksonville Beach. It's a screening of a documentary about former Manchester United star Dennis Viollet, who also played a huge role in the history of soccer in Jacksonville. Violet's daughter Rachel made the documentary and will present a Q&A at the screening.
Oh, wow. Just have a good time. I mean, honestly, that's what I can only think of what my dad would want from this. And that's just to have for everybody to come together. He loved that. He loved bringing people together and celebrate soccer in Jacksonville. And, you know, it's acknowledge the past, but also it seems to be a great future that lies ahead for the game and just enjoy each other. And, you know, that's what he would want. And I think for anyone that hasn't seen the film, I think they'll learn, you know, maybe a different side to my dad that they didn't know before. And I really hope that they enjoy the film and enjoy getting to know him a little bit better.
Looking forward to that. And it's not too early to become a season ticket member of Sporting Jacks. Just go to sportingjacks.com and put down your deposits. $25 reserves your space for the men's or women's team. And if you want to reserve your spot for both, it's $40. Just go to sportingjacks.com to save your seat for pro soccer in Jacksonville. Coming up, we may have gotten a look at the budding of a future rivalry last week, the future of Sporting Jacks in the USL Super League. That's straight ahead. Sporting Jacks will be unveiling the official kit in the months to come, but already you can get your own Sporting Jacks merchandise, from t-shirts and hats to sweatshirts. And of course, the scarf. You can find Sporting Jacks official merchandise at sportingjacks.com, at our official team store on Phillips Highway, and at We Got Soccer. It is time now for our Youth Soccer Spotlight, presented by the Bearded Pig Barbecue. Last week, we were at the home opener for Florida Elite's USL W League team. The U23 squad faced Tampa Bay United in a matchup of two of the top teams in the league, and we saw a very impressive performance, Mauricio, from Florida Elite.
We really, and they've been on a tear. They're ranked currently right now, the ladies, in the number 3 in the country. Following that, we saw that was midweek. On the weekend, they won another impressive game. Just a really good level of play here locally. Now we get an opportunity to actually see the players that are here. They get an opportunity to play at the next level, to be watched, to be identified and discovered. And there's a bit of a matchup, as you mentioned, with a potential future rivalry in the Super League.
Well, and that's sort of one of the things I wanted to talk about here, and it sort of dovetails in with our conversations about developing that pathway to the pros in the USL. Both of these teams have players who could potentially wind up playing for their hometown teams in the USL Super League. Tampa Bay Sun is launching this year in the USL Super League in Tampa, and of course, Sporting Jacks in the future. I don't know that this game necessarily will tell us a lot about the way things are going to play out from a rivalry standpoint down the road, but boy, we did see some high-level soccer in the U23s.
We really did, and really for both sides. Florida Elite here, they came out on top, 3-0 win against the Tampa Bay United team. But on both sides, you have players that are representing top-level colleges. Some of them, they're representing their national teams. We had a under-20 Germany World Cup winner in this match as well. And there might be players that played against each other that eventually will play against each other at the Super League environment there as well. But every time you put the cherry on top of the cake, right, when you put that pro team on top in the local market, you see an uptick in performance. You see an uptick in talent, wanting to kind of come into the market. And I think that's what we're seeing here with this specific team.
So you think not only having a pro team coming here in Jacksonville is going to impact what happens at the top levels, but even at the lower levels, 100%. The younger kids, all of a sudden they have something to shoot for, something to look at and say, hey, once they see it out on the field, they can say, hey, that's the kind of game I want to be playing. That's the kind of level I want my game to be. So it motivates them all the way from the little kids all the way up.
Boy, especially when they see the players graduating from the under-23, which is really what the Summer League is, to the pro team. So over time, in the next 2 to 3, 4 years, you'll see players that were playing that we saw, this past week, that eventually would get signed by our local team. So then the younger players that are playing in the local leagues will see that as a pathway, and that's really ultimately what we're trying to create that full pathway. So we're out there, we're watching them, we've already spoken to them a few times, and just let them know to enjoy their football, to work really hard, and that hopefully in the future there'll be an opportunity for them.
And that could be the case on both the boys' side and the girls' side. The girls with the USL W League, the boys with USL League 2. Again, another opportunity for those players to get some very good competition in the summertime as they look to improve their careers down the line. We are proud to announce our new radio show, the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour, debuted on Monday, 1010XL, 6 p.m. Mauricio, Becky, and I will cover the world of soccer, including the U.S. men's and women's national teams, the USL Championship and Super League, Sporting Jacks, the Premier League, and more. So join us every Monday at 6 p.m. on 1010XL. Stick around, there's more of the Sporting Jacks Report straight ahead. You can watch the Sporting Jacks Report every Wednesday at noon on ABC 25, with re-airings on Saturdays on ABC 25 and on demand on First Coast News Plus. We have a lot to get to here. We start talking about this summer of soccer we've been talking about. And just this past weekend, we saw the Champions League final with Real Madrid taking the win over Borussia Dortmund. Couple of thoughts that you were very impressed by the youth play for Real Madrid, how young those stars are.
They really are. I mean, there's a bit of a changing of the torch there with, Toni Kroos and Modric leaving, but, I mean, they're handed off to superstars.
Yeah.
And a lot of them. And there are more coming, potentially Mbappe coming to that team. So Real Madrid, the Galacticos, they're going to continue to be really a force. They've won 15 Champions Leagues. I mean, and really, I don't know how many more they can get because they're not rebuilding at any point. Their back line is intact. Pretty impressive what they've done there so far.
All right, let's look ahead here this summer. What's really piquing your interest on the global soccer schedule?
Whoa, what's not? I think that's going to be a difficult one, right? We're going to have to kind of schedule a lot around this summer, some personal things around it. But really, Copa America here on our home soil is the first really edition of the Copa America where they've kind of combined South, Central, and North America in the way that they're doing it now. And the fact that they chose to do that in the U.S., building up to the World Cup in 2 years, so very, very intentional for sure. But being able to see the likes of Colombia, Brazil, Argentina playing against U.S., Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, I think it's going to be the first time really to rival Euro Cup, which is the next one, right? Euro Cup is happening almost at the same time, and that's always a popular one. It's playing in Germany this year. But I think Copa America here locally is going to be something for us to watch.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I'm also, of course, looking forward to seeing how the U.S. looks in the Olympics, particularly on the women's side with Emma Hayes, as we've discussed, to see if they can get back to a high-level kind of performance after a disappointing World Cup last time out. There is a lot going on here, and it's not just this summer of soccer, but if you start taking the long view, soccer in America between now and 25 and 26 is going to be huge. All right, we want to invite you to stay connected with us on our social media. Sporting Jacks is on all these social channels, as you see there. You see all the handles. Great way to stay connected to what we're doing as a club as we move forward. Thanks so much for joining us for the Sporting Jacks Report. For Mauricio Ruiz and Becky Burleigh, I'm Cole Pepper. Have a great time. We'll talk to you next time.